Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's Community Connection. I'm Jenna Brooks, your local realtor, and today we have Miss Allison Graham. Welcome.
Hey, how are you? Awesome to be here with you.
So thank you, Allie. For those that don't know Allison Graham, I don't know how that's even possible.
Oh, it is.
Well, especially in London, most people have heard of Allison. Keynote speaker, big time. Actually, the very first time I ever met Allison was at least 5 years ago, I think, and you were the keynote at Power of the Purse. And I remember listening to you and thinking, oh my gosh, not only is she like amazing at what you do, but I think I should be friends with her.
And we are, and we have been.
Yeah, and so now we are. Meanwhile, that was a plan of mine the whole time, Allie, by the way. But I wanted to take this opportunity because your business, like through the 5 years that I've known you, and then obviously like 10 years before that, you've been an entrepreneur?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Wow. A long time.
So where did it start? Because like keynote speaker, public speaking, like how did it all start? And then let's talk about how it's morphed over the years, the trials and tribulations that you've had, and then a success story, because I know that right now you are booming, and even though we're in this global pandemic and most people are having a hard time finding that silver lining, you've been able to, you've grabbed onto it, and you're thriving. So let's talk about the beginning and then keep going.
Well, the early stages, I taught networking. And the way that actually came to be was because I had gone from not knowing anyone, working as a bartender and a receptionist, to having a really strong network, getting involved in politics and charity and all of that. And then people would ask me for advice, like, how do I get to meet those really cool people who you've met? Right. And, I always joke that if enough people ask you for the same advice, you can charge for it. And it's called consulting.
Yeah, there right? You go. And 101.
101. And so that's how my business actually began, was consulting on networking. And then really quickly I learned that, if you taught like something in front of an audience, you could actually, like, that was a business model. I didn't even know that was a business model available to me. And so I very quickly learned how to get over my fear of speaking. That took about 7 years before I was actually loved speaking in public, even though I was doing it as a living. And actually probably even longer. I used to go in the bathroom and because this is the thing, everybody sees what's on the stage and they don't see what's happening behind.
Right?
Right.
What you want them to see. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm in the bathroom, texting my mom and my brother and being like, oh my God, I'm going onto a stage. Why am I doing this? Why is this my business? Why do I choose to do this every time?
10 times.
Oh yeah. And say a prayer for me. I have no idea. What's my topic again? Everything. And if people would ever have seen those, I wish I still had them. I probably do in old Blackberries. But anyway, yeah, so it really morphed. But I think there are a couple of cautions. First of all, people see you on stage and they see you in the media, and I've been very blessed to have a great opportunity to serve. It doesn't mean that it's always been easy, and there have been many ups, and there have been a lot of downs as well.
Right. That's what, any successful entrepreneur says, right? They give the iceberg analogy, everything that happens under the surface. And especially now with social media, right? People are just putting out into the universe what they want other people to see, but they don't see all the behind the scenes, right? So, those downs are really ultimately what make you successful, because without them, how do you even A, appreciate them, and B, know that you're shifting and pivoting when you should be, right?
Right. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so how did you become the Resiliency Ninja, and then how did you get from there to today?
To where I am now. So first of all, I think it was allowing myself to recognize that even though I was successfully in the networking training box, which is where I was for many years, there was a certain point in that where I'm like, oh my gosh, I just can't do this anymore. I wasn't inspired as much as I used to be. And when I really sat down and thought, what do I want to do? I really wanted to help people, with the mindset and the resilience. And the truth is, all the techniques in the world don't matter. When it came to networking, if when you walk into the room, you're thinking you're an idiot, you don't belong, you don't have the confidence,
That's
all of
self-talk.
that mattered more. And so anyway, I did this, and I had this great marketing idea and with some advice from people. And, the whole Resiliency Ninja brand, and this is how funny, how easily it can happen, and sometimes in the wrong way. I wrote in my book, which was just one line. I said, it's like a resiliency ninja. Like you know how ninjas are, like they're all calm, cool, collected out on the street. And then they jump into the alley. They're having a big sword fight and like, yeah, cha. And then they come back out and they act like everything's calm, cool, collected. I think that's how we're all living our lives. And one of my initial editors said, oh, you need to bring that to the forefront. The resiliency ninja needs to be the whole thing. And anyway, I did without testing it. And it didn't quite sit well enough. I found I was explaining what a resiliency ninja was more than I was actually teaching people how to be resilient. Oh. And so I ultimately ended up moving away from that. But here's the question that allowed me to move away from that. I went away in August and I said, okay, here's the deal. What if every business decision I've ever made was the right decision for me then and is no longer the right decision for me now? And the reason that was so freeing was because every time I thought about letting go of Resiliency Ninja, even though it was sort of in my gut, like, I think I just need to be AllisonGraham.co. Like, what if I'm just me and I happen to talk about resilience and I happen to talk about networking and that. But every time I did it, I was like, oh, but I don't want to fail on the Resiliency Ninja side. Right? Because I put so much heart and soul into that the idea of walking away from it made me feel judgmental towards myself or like I had failed. And so by giving that little extra, what if it was the right decision then, but not today? It freed me. And from that, I ended up creating online, like that 1 month of just allowing myself to noodle with that question. I ended up letting go of the Resiliency Ninja brand. I ended up, doing online programming. I offered leadership group coaching, where I would actually work with teams on a longer basis, as opposed to just coming in and doing the big keynote and walking away. It was such a freeing experience. And then all of that work really led us to here we are today. And, everybody's changing, right? And how we do it.
Yeah. So what would you say then, like, everybody's got a coach. So who have been your major influencers?
Oh my gosh, so many. So I think that we have to flood ourselves to counteract all the negative in the world. So flood ourselves with information and positive, like stuff, right? So I watch a lot of YouTube channels like Impact Theory. Tom Bilyeu is one of my favorites. Tony Robbins, Joe Dispenza. Like, I consume all of their content on a regular basis. And I have had coaches over the years, and I do believe in seeking out expertise. So hiring people who are really great at what they do so I can learn how to do what I do. And including Jenna Brooks, who not only would I use as a real estate agent, but who I also use as my physical trainer to help me activate my muscles.
Yeah. Rehab, right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, but I think the thing so if we talk about what's happening now for a lot of business owners, what really matters to me in terms of sharing with people is, like, there is so much that we cannot control right now. And we're all like going through the roller coaster emotion. Like, we're grieving. And we don't even necessarily recognize how significant that is. We're grieving the way we knew life to be, plus all these new obstacles that are in our way. But from that adversity, we can figure out what are the new obstacles. And we, like, adversity, very low control, high emotion.
Yeah, totally.
But from it come the obstacles. And obstacles don't actually require our emotion. And we have a higher level of control of trying to figure out how to deal with it and fix it. And from those obstacles come the tasks. And the task is where we have low emotion and high control. And that's where the reason I was able to pivot my business, I mean, I had about a month where I was like, uh-oh, it all blew up, right? Because most of my work is in person.
Yeah.
Oh, and so, right? Like that's how you get to be a speaker and a trainer, is you go in front of audiences. And, it was 10 o'clock on the 13th of March when I got my last, the whole time, all the cancellations coming, because event industry was one of the first, right?
Yeah.
Everything was good. And I'm like, oh, but I got my thing down in the States and, that one isn't canceled yet. Okay. And then I got the email and I'm like, oh,
yeah,
it's all gone. But because I was able to say, okay, this is an adversity and I'm grieving and I'm scared and I have all these overwhelming emotions about COVID and the world. But those overwhelming negative emotions, fear, grief, shame, worry, all of that doesn't need to overshadow everything.
Right.
And they very well can. But then I was able to use my resiliency model to actually write out, okay, what is the adversity? What am I feeling there? What is the obstacles that come from that? Okay, well, I got to figure out how to deliver completely virtually. And I've got to figure out how do I fix my cash flow in a hurry.
Right.
And then it was just a matter of, okay, here are all the tasks that need to get done and getting focused on implementing. And that allowed me to get my business on track fairly quickly with a new business model, new clients, and new opportunities. So I'm really trying to encourage people, like, you can pivot. We just have to allow ourselves to emotionally detach from the way it used to be.
And I think, like, you just hit it on the head so hard there. Like, it's so powerful, your messaging right there. And obviously now my brain is going a mile a minute. And I know that you're working with organizations, you work with companies, and you're doing your virtual training online with them. But what if a small business owner wants to reach out to you? Will you help them?
100%. So different ways I've been helping people. I'm doing group coaching on how to build an online program, right?
You learn how to do that. I know we're probably getting into the weeds now, but now I'm curious.
That's okay. So here's the funny, it's like everything I've ever done has led up to me being able to help people right now. So I have built, I'm going to say 10, maybe 15 online programs.
Wow.
The same program I don't even know what the numbers are, but probably 7 times on the same one on my networking program, because I would sell it to companies and then I would have to rebuild it for their system and for their needs.
Right.
And then I always had this dream of having serving small business owners, these individuals online, helping them. And I was always too afraid to do it. So I would build these programs, get them go, and then I would not do any marketing to actually launch it.
So COVID forced you to do it.
I did. And actually, so what happened was a whole bunch of my speaker colleagues were calling me up and saying, hey, listen, I know you built a ton of programs. How do you build them? Yeah. And I'd be like, okay, well, here, why don't I do a webinar just for our crew? Like, we've got a group of speakers. Yeah. And, let me know. I'll do it next Monday. Let me know what the questions are. And I had every question from how much content you put in, what's the right program, how do I do videos, what kind of lighting do I need? And I was like, oh, wow, I can't cover this in a webinar. Right. So on the Sunday morning, and of course, keep in mind, the webinar I'm doing for these people is on Monday at 3:00. Sunday about noon, I'm like, you know what I could do? Ding! Is I could build an online program and film myself doing every step of building an online program so they could follow along and just build their own online program.
Genius. Yeah.
And it took me, I said I'd do it in 3 days. I had it all filmed in 2. It took me a total of 4 days of effort to build it because I've already built so many programs. I've written 4 books. I know how to do this. And then people got wind of it outside of my group and people started buying the program. So I added in the group coaching. Doing that, I've done 2 rounds of that, and we're having about a 60% success rate in terms of people launching their program within a week.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Yeah. Congratulations. Yeah.
Thank you. But here's the golden lesson out of this. I knew that creativity was my outlet.
Yes.
right? So instead of getting down in the weeds and going like, hanging out underneath the dining room table in the fetal position, crying because of everything that was going on for the world and COVID, is I said, okay, creativity, what is the task I can do? Well, one of the tasks I could do was build this online program to serve.
Yes.
And the byproduct of that has been a new revenue stream.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And helping a lot of people.
I was just going to say, and then you can now pay that for, not just with the online programming, but teaching people maybe how to recognize their own creative genius, right? And be able to tap into that. Whoop, whoop. Okay. Yeah. Well, before we could talk forever, obviously, so we're gonna after this, but everyone, I hope that you really enjoyed this community connection with Allison Graham. I'm Jenna Brooks. You are a local realtor, and if you want to get in touch with her, make sure you do. Have a great day. Bye, Allie.
Bye.